Right, let's see if this one actually works. So, first, welcome. Thank you. The first one I just did, my internet changed. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining Debz Cooper. And today I'm actually talking about taking your power back. So, first, I would love you to give me a like, a love, an emoji. Let me know if you're on the call, if you're on the call live, if you're on the call replay. I forget these things. So anyway, this is who I am, Debz Cooper, global stressologist, and I'm talking about taking your power back. And this has been coming about from things that have been going on around me, not only me, but other people this week and last week as well. It sort of came about at the weekend. So I'd like to talk to you about purely how to take your power back. And when I talk about taking your power back, I don't mean being an a-hole, but take your power back when you are upholding your integrity. And when I talk about your integrity, it's about who you are and the core of who you are as a person. So there's a little bit of difference between certainty and being an a-hole. And so when you hold your integrity, you have certainty in who you are, and your shoulders are back and you own your power. But then there's also being an a-hole. So when I talk about being an a-hole, you know those times when you've just gone punching. I've done it, and you've attacked, and you know it's actually being not genuine, and you're not holding your integrity. You're actually just firing from the hip. So I'm definitely not talking about when you punch, and because you know when you punch, they punch back, and it just becomes the power of two evils as such. Thanks for joining. So the difference to being an a-hole is giving them a lesson the hard way. And when we want to be, we give them a lesson and it comes that punch. Or generally, the difference is genuine injustice. And when I talk about injustice, there's a scenario I have recently. So, for example, injustice is if, well, there's definitely multiple different levels, but one of them is if you buy a dress and you pay a lot of money for that dress, or clothes, or anything. You pay a lot of money for that, whether you actually pay a lot of money or not, but you pay a lot of money, and then you haven't worn it and the stitching comes undone. And you're like, hang on, that's not right. I have to take that back. And you don't want to take it back and have it mended. You actually either want your money back, or you don't want something that's sort of semi-second hand. So that's a little bit of injustice, because you purchased something in good faith and it didn't come true. And it's not something that you have done, that you've put on weight. Maybe if you put on weight and you've ripped it, then that's clearly you, not the actual people you bought it from. And then there's the a-hole. So there's just a little bit of difference between certainty and a-hole. And I trust that's given you a little bit of an explanation. So when we talk about taking your power back, any area you are disempowered, someone else takes over your space. And when I think about this, I think about it's like there's cracks in the concrete. And with those cracks in the concrete, when someone sees that you're disempowered, they're like concrete, and they're coming into those cracks and they're filtering through, and they just fill those cracks up. So the biggest thing you can do is taking your power back is be accountable to your life. And so when I say be accountable to your life, this also means what happens in your world and what doesn't happen in your world. And this is truly sexy when someone takes accountability to their life. It's just inspiring, and you want to be around people who do take accountability to their life. And it's not somebody who plays victim, because you know when you moan and moan and moan and moan and you play victim, you're actually lost in your power. So when you think about those people around you, think about them. And so do you really love listening to them moan? You know, does everybody love a moaner? Well, if you do, then good luck to you. But truly, nobody wants to hear someone moan and moan and moan and go about the same story that they've done over and over and over again. So people are more attracted to, not just physically and mentally, attracted to people who are inspiring and take accountability to their life. So when you go to open your mouth and moan, and I'm talking about the moan clearly, it's unattractive and people don't want to be around you, and they can only put up with you for so long. So think of that when you go to make that decision. Is this worth me moaning about? Is this worth me actually doing something about? I'm clearly going to give you some tips on this. But just those things, just pause a moment before you open that mouth and go, is this worth me sharing this? Am I going to get some value from it? Are the people around me going to get some value from it? Because this is exactly where it's actually at. So when I talk about sending emails and our energy we put out, we send out bow and arrow emails, and they're not just bow and arrow emails. They're what comes out our mouth when we attack somebody, and it's a bow and arrow. It's a come back, decide what you want, and shooting forward. So if you're going to send a bow and arrow email out, my advice is get somebody to read it. After you've read it aloud, of course, get someone else to read it, because they can read and pick up your triggers. So when you read it aloud, you can hear your own words and go, oh, that's a little bit harsh. That's the arrow shooting in. Oh, no, there's another arrow shooting in. So think of those things. But if you can read aloud and you think it's neutral, I would suggest you send it to somebody else to have a read, and just get them to have a read. But it has to be somebody who's not invested in your world, your bubble, and the particular drama with this. And when I say about this, because, you know, I have many people who come to me and say, my partner's cheated on me, or my partner's dabbled outside the relationship, or whatever they want to label it as. And then their friend goes, let's take them to the cleaners. And it's just not about that. Okay, yes, they dabbled outside the relationship. Let's really look at why they did that and what's truly going on for you and them. Because it's not just a joint, it's not just a single thing here, it's actually joint. This is what I'm talking about, being accountable to your world, what goes on, what doesn't go on in your world. So get someone to read it who is not invested in that relationship, taking out all men in the world, or taking out all women in the world. I got cheated on when I was so-and-so age and now I hate all men, or whatever the story is that they're holding on to, because it's really not going to serve you or them to allow them to jump on your train. So when I think about that, sending emails out, read it aloud, see where your trigger words are, see if it feels neutral, and I'm going to give you some tips about this, and then get someone else to read. Look, I'm more than happy to have a read of some of your emails if that's what you want to do, but find somebody who is neutral and not invested in the crazy train. So know that the energy you put out is the energy you get back. So if you're going to be an a-hole to someone, they're going to be an a-hole back. And if you're going to talk down to someone, they're going to talk down back to you. They're not going to go, oh, I love everything you say about me, thank you so much. That's not what it's about. So a while ago I had somebody sending out my emails, and their energy, they just didn't have the inspiring energy putting it together. It was just chaos. Each week I was doing it. Each week it came up a problem. There was problem after problem after problem. And there was a lot of complications, a lot of excuses. And for me, that energy that person was putting into those emails that I was sending out was not healthy. And because of that, the emails during that time had the lowest amount of opening rate and the lowest responses to me. And when I figured this out, this is about our energy. So they were putting energy into my emails, and that was going out to each person. And the person who was receiving the emails was picking that up. So be aware of that energy that's going on. So there was also, I was thinking about this yesterday actually, there was a hairdresser once, and she was so fearful. And I'd gone to Australia and I went to have my hair done, and she was so fearful because they said, look, she comes back all the time. And I could hear them talking, raving about me, and I'm thinking, please don't rave about me. This poor woman who's a junior, timid as anything, was then going to come and do my hair. And they had talked about me enough that they put this fear, and she was so nervous and she was shaking her hands and everything. Now, all she had to do was wash my hair to start with. And I don't know how many times I got shampoo in my eyes, how many times she kept saying sorry to me. How many times when she put the shampoo in my eyes, she would get the wet part of the cloth and actually wash half my face off and rub it really. And it was just probably one of the worst experiences I'd had just from getting my hair washed. Thank goodness she didn't do anything else with my hair. But this is it. The energy she was putting out, she was so fearful of actually hurting me, destroying me, mucking it up. That's the energy she put out. And what did she do? She did that. So when you do this, just be aware that, you know, I talked a little start about being the a-hole. When two knuckles come together, only blood gets shed. So when two knuckles come together and you're not coming to a resolution with integrity, blood gets shed. And think about that. So then decide, because I'm going to give you some steps very, very soon, is decide if this is a knuckle moment. Is it worth the knuckle moment, or is it actually just upholding your integrity? So when you have these things that happen to you, decide if the lesson is for you or them, because everything in life is a lesson. And you want to go if it's for you or if it's for them. So if it's for you, there's some questions you ask yourself. You ask yourself, what is the true lesson here? What is the true lesson? Has it happened in the past? Has it happened in the past? And what value did it bring to this world? So they could be, when I talk about the value it brings to this world, we could be the people you associate with, who you're now talking to about certain things. There could be a trust issue. There could be hiring on desperation or inspiration. Recently I hired someone to do a task and they were so desperate for money, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. This person's desperate for money. I can do a quick fix here. I can give them something. I thought it was the right thing to do. They raved about who they were, and they mucked me around and around and around until I had to cut it. So at that moment I hired on desperation over inspiration. I would rather have someone who's inspired to do something than actually, oh my God, I can do this, and desperate for that money. So when you think about that, so when we think about, is it your true lesson? Is this a past lesson? Think about your bubble. If you haven't resolved this bubble and it's come from the past, then the bubble joins another bubble and it gets bigger and bigger. So it's wise to resolve that bubble, that issue, that glitch from the past before you move on to the next one, because it just gets bigger, like a snowball coming down the mountain. So if we go to, when we talk about the lessons, we go, has it happened in the past? So if I go to this last one of hiring somebody, has it happened in the past? Yes. What didn't I do? So I have to do the value exercise. I have to do the value of the past experience and the present experience. What value did it bring to me? Because this is really what's going to resolve it. So I'm not going to have that bubble that's going to attach to another big bubble till I have all these big bubbles that are just going to blow and burst in my face. So when I go to the lesson, that's my lesson. So is it a lesson for them? And so when I say them, being them, and this is where you can be an a-hole or you can uphold your integrity. So is it worthy to say something? So I would ask a friend, but remember, somebody who's not invested in this. Ask a friend who's not invested in this. And if it's worthy for them, then yes, speak up. And speak from the heart. And when I say speak from the heart, you can say, I feel this, that's okay, but don't focus on your feelings. And always put a solution in there. This is what happened to me. I hired you for this. This is what you provided me. I feel upset. That's okay to say that. Or I feel shafted or whatever. Try not to swear. And this is what I'd like to do to resolve this. So you can talk about your feelings in that email or verbally, but just remember, don't hold on to those feelings, because that's just emotion that you're storing. So you can say that, yes, but don't put 80% of that email or that content in around your feelings. If it's a no, it's not worthy, then don't do anything about it. Go back to you, because it's actually, if it's not worthy, it's actually your lesson in the end, not them. It's your lesson, not them. Oh, that's a lovely one, Sandra. Keeping faith with my deepest values is how I demonstrate integrity with compassion. Sandra's one, she's great with compassion. She pulls me up quite often with compassion. So just know you are here on this earth for experiences. And I'm going to say that again. You're here on this earth for experiences, good or bad, whatever you label them at. And this is about learning that experience and leveling up, because you don't want to stay stagnant. You don't want to stay in that position you're at. It's always about leveling up. What can you do to bring into your world that can carry on? So be aware of that. No, everything is a lesson. It's up to you how you play that lesson, how you plan out that lesson, whatever happens to you. Just be aware that this is your lesson. You can be an a-hole or not. So I thank you for joining me today. Today. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next Friday. Let me know if you liked this, if there's any point in here that you would like some more further clarification on. Anything else you'd like to know, I appreciate you coming. Other than that, I will see you next time.